Welcome back to our channel, your premier destination for the deepest dives into the dramatic world of Genoa City. Today is a beautiful day to unravel the complex, dark, and thrilling psychological warfare happening on the young and the restless. Grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let us break down the devastating betrayals and legal nightmares that are about to shatter some of our favorites. The shadow of absolute justice is looming over Genoa City, and it wears the familiar, unyielding face of Christine Blair Romoldi. Stepping back into the district attorney's office is not merely a career move for Christine. It is the culmination of decades of bitter, unresolved history. When Christine delivers her severe, chilling threats to Phyllis Summers, she is not just acting as an officer of the court. She is acting as the righteous executioner of a woman who has tormented her for her entire adult life. Christine confirms with absolute, terrifying certainty that she is completely prepared to prosecute Phyllis to the fullest extent of the law if the Newman family provides the damning evidence. For Christine, this is a moment of profound moral vindication. The scars she bears from the time Phyllis brutally ran her down with the car have never truly faded, and now, armed with the power of the state, Christine is warning Phyllis that the days of escaping consequence are officially over. Christine points out the deeply disturbing news that is about to break, making it clear that the walls are rapidly closing in. Despite the terrifying reality of federal prison staring her in the face, Phyllis continues to stall, trapped in a paralyzing cycle of stubborn pride and sheer terror. Victor Newman has laid out a brutally simple ultimatum: sign over the complete ownership of the Newman empire to him, or face the wrath of the district attorney and spend years behind bars. To any rational person, the choice is obvious, but Phyllis Summers is not operating on rationality. She is operating on a desperate, burning need to maintain her ego and her power. Surrendering to Victor Newman, her ultimate historical nemesis, feels like a fate worse than death. She is clinging to the delusion that she can outsmart a trap that has already been perfectly sprung. Her hesitation is a testament to her deep psychological inability to accept defeat, even when the alternative is the complete destruction of her freedom and her relationship with her children. Meanwhile, the psychological pressure cooker is absolutely destroying Michael Baldwin. Victor has deliberately and ruthlessly cornered Michael, refusing to entertain even the slightest attempt at negotiating on Phyllis's behalf. Victor's coldness is legendary, but in this instance, it is a masterclass in psychological dominance. He knows that Michael and Phyllis share a bond that spans decades, a friendship forged in the fires of mutual scheming and survival. Yet, Victor demands absolute loyalty, forcing Michael into the agonizing position of being the instrument of his best friend's destruction. Victor insists that Michael must change his tactics, demanding that the brilliant lawyer become entirely ruthless in convincing Phyllis to surrender. There are even subtle, cunning manipulations where Victor pulls Michael into his dark web, forcing him to execute maneuvers that completely violate his personal ethics. Michael is suffocating under the weight of this impossible dynamic. As the deadline approaches and the reality of a lengthy prison sentence becomes inescapable, Phyllis reaches a state of absolute, frantic desperation. The realization that neither her intellect nor her usual allies can save her triggers a primal, catastrophic survival instinct. In a moment of sheer, reckless panic, Phyllis executes a move so deeply treacherous that it threatens to alter the fundamental fabric of Genoa City. She looks at the inescapable evidence, she looks at the looming threat of Christine Romoldi, and she makes a shocking declaration. She formally claims that Michael Baldwin was the mastermind who advised her to execute the illegal corporate transactions. She throws her best friend, her closest confidant, and her most loyal defender directly into the path of the oncoming train. In my opinion, this is how Phyllis is protecting herself from pain, by transforming her overwhelming terror of absolute defeat into a weapon of mass destruction, ensuring that if she goes down, she drags her most powerful allies into the abyss with her. She cannot process the agonizing reality of losing everything she has built to Victor Newman. The grief and the humiliation of that surrender would shatter her fragile psyche. Therefore, she resorts to the ultimate betrayal, convincing herself that this catastrophic lie is merely a necessary strategic maneuver. Her twisted logic dictates that if she implicates Michael, Victor will be forced to immediately halt his legal attack to protect his most valuable asset and trusted fixer. She is gambling with Michael's life, his career, and his freedom, entirely blinded by her own desperate need to survive the suffocating trap that has been set for her. The immediate fallout of this betrayal is nothing short of devastating. Michael Baldwin is completely, profoundly stunned. The sheer audacity of Phyllis's lie hits him with the force of a physical blow. This is not a mere corporate maneuver, this is the brutal assassination of a friendship that has weathered countless storms. Michael has compromised his morals, risked his career, and exhausted his emotional reserves trying to find a way to save Phyllis from herself, and her response is to frame him for federal crimes. The shock on his face is a testament to the sudden, violent death of his trust. He is left reeling, staring at the woman he once considered a sister, realizing that she views him as nothing more than a disposable pawn in her endless war against the world. The psychological ripple effects of Phyllis's lie immediately reach the highest levels of the Newman Empire. Victor Newman, a man whose entire philosophy is built on the absolute demand for loyalty and the inherent expectation of betrayal, begins to experience the creeping shadows of doubt. While Victor knows that Phyllis is a pathological liar, the accusation plants a dangerous seed in his paranoid mind. He begins to wonder if Michael, driven by his deep devotion to Phyllis, might have actually played both sides. Victor's trust is incredibly difficult to earn and remarkably easy to lose. The dynamic between the billionaire patriarch and his brilliant fixer instantly shifts from a unified front to a tense, suspicious standoff. Victor watches Michael with a calculating, cold gaze, waiting to see how the lawyer will navigate this impossible crisis, silently questioning whether his most trusted advisor has finally crossed the line into treason. Thrust into a legal and professional nightmare, Michael is suddenly forced to fight for his own survival. He must stand before the disciplinary board of the Bar Association to defend himself against allegations that could result in his disbarment and subsequent criminal prosecution. The stakes have never been higher, and the path to exoneration is fraught with unimaginable peril. Michael is walking a terrifying legal tightrope. He must completely dismantle Phyllis's accusations and definitively prove his innocence, but he must do so without accidentally exposing the dark, the legal methods Victor used to gather the evidence in the first place. If Michael reveals that Victor utilized an advanced artificial intelligence program to generate deepfakes and manipulate corporate data, he will destroy the Newman Empire and invite Victor's ultimate, lethal wrath. This delicate balancing act requires every ounce of Michael's legendary legal brilliance. He must meticulously construct a defense that discredits Phyllis's character and her timeline of events, using his intimate knowledge of her psychological patterns against her. He has to stand before his peers and essentially tear down the credibility of the woman he has loved and protected for years. The emotional toll of this process is staggering. Every piece of evidence he submits, every argument he makes to the disciplinary board, is a nail in the coffin of their shared history. He is forced to weaponize his grief and his intimate understanding of Phyllis's flaws to save his own life, all while keeping Victor's darkest secrets safely hidden in the shadows. As Michael navigates this harrowing ordeal, a profound and terrifying psychological transformation takes place within him. The shock and the heartbreak of the betrayal begin to curdle, morphing into something far darker and far more permanent. The warmth, the humor, and the unconditional support that once defined his relationship with Phyllis are completely incinerated. In my opinion, this is how Michael is protecting himself from pain, by taking the shattered remnants of his broken heart and forging them into a cold, impenetrable armor of pure, unadulterated hatred toward the woman he once considered his family. The grief of losing his best friend is too heavy, too agonizing to process, so he replaces that grief with a burning, righteous fury. He cannot allow himself to mourn the friendship, because mourning would require vulnerability, and vulnerability in the face of a predator like Phyllis is a death sentence. The relationship between Michael Baldwin and Phyllis Summers officially and irreversibly turns into pure hatred. This is not a temporary feud, or a typical Genoa City misunderstanding that can be resolved over drinks at the athletic club. This is a fundamental severing of a soul tie. Michael looks at Phyllis and no longer sees the vibrant, chaotic woman who matched his intellect and shared his secrets. He sees a toxic, desperate liability who was willing to destroy his family, his career, and his freedom simply to save her own skin. The tragic nature of this severed bond will ripple through the entire social and corporate landscape of the city. Phyllis, in her desperate bid to avoid prison, has managed to alienate the single most capable and loyal ally she ever possessed, leaving her completely isolated and terrifyingly vulnerable to the combined wrath of Victor Newman, Christine Romolodi, and now Michael Baldwin himself.